Good morning. It is Thursday, April 24th, 2025. We're going to spend some time talking about our miscellaneous bill, but one of the subjects that we're trying to solve is a situation down in Senator Joe Major's district in Barnard, right? Where we have a accessory building that everybody signed off on, except some of the environmental folks. And the issue is that this is a farm structure in all practical purposes. It's a pole barn. It's not even an enclosed structure to most extent. It's a pole barn that's used 10 months out of the year strictly for agriculture. The town signed off on it. The townspeople are happy about it. And a couple times, or maybe 10 times, or 2 months out of the year, this collaborative group of farmers who have all little parts and pieces of this ecosystem of community, invite the public in and feed them, and have community and have music and have a good time. Very well attended, very well supported, and we're having a little bit of a battle that it's not deemed an agricultural structure. So we're crafting some language. Senator Major has been on the forefront of this, and I believe has done a fantastic job. The committee supported him 110%. And we are trying to figure out to attach some language to our miscellaneous bill to help support that. And today we're going to be talking with Caroline Sherman Gordon, legislative director of rural Vermont, and some of her folks. But also we have at 9:30 coming in Ellen Krajewski. Is that how you say that? Krajewski. Legislative Council, Office of Legislative Council, and she's the one that's helped craft the language. So we're just looking for language to attach to our miscellaneous bill. So, so we have a little time. We still have 15 more minutes to get there. Caroline?
Thank you so much, dear senators. For the record, my name is Caroline Sherman Gordon. I'm the legislative director of rural Vermont, and I need about 12 minutes for my written testimony. I'll take us through here. Thank you so much for hearing me on this. Whereas testimonials provided by our members and allies during Small Farm Action Days don't always reflect the position or policy priorities of rural Vermont, I welcome the opportunity to testify today on behalf of my organization in support of the request of Fable Farm, Eastman Farm, and the Feast and Field Collective made on March 26th and April 23rd to this committee. Rural Vermont has worked diligently alongside a diversity of stakeholders, including agency staff, town and municipal planners, farm business viability staff, farmers, and many more since 2017 at in-person meetings, by email, and at the State House, to collaboratively develop and advocate for legislation related to accessory on-farm businesses, which passed into law as Act 143 that year. These meetings have specifically been held in relation to potential jurisdictional conflicts or statutory uncertainties related to differing definitions across policy, including the law on Act 250 and Title 10 BSA and municipal zoning and Title 24 BSA. This history and current participation in the dispute between the Feast and Field Collective and the newly created Land Use Review Board, LURB, shows that rural Vermont is committed to the ongoing process of determining how best to educate about, regulate, and promote accessory on-farm businesses as a critical part of our fostering farm viability, agricultural literacy, and community connection. I personally want to thank and share gratitude for the leadership of Vice Chair Senator Major on this efforts to seek relief for the subject of the multi-use structure at Fable Farm being requested to undergo Act 250 permitting within the pending House Miscellaneous Agricultural H 484. The language in Section 4 and 5 of draft number 1.1 from April 17 is overshooting the mark by aiming to explicitly exempt all construction types of new buildings for event spaces on farms from Act 250 permitting, while also establishing an entire new system of regulating the event activity itself on a case-by-case basis through newly created special event permits. Neither Section 4 nor Section 5 would specifically clarify the regulatory status of multi-use structures with regards to existing Act 250 provisions. It is Rule of Vermont's recommendation to strike section 4 and 5 as drafted and to insert in lieu thereof the following language as section 4 and H 484. No permit or permit amendment is required for the construction of improvements used as part of an accessory on-farm business as defined in 24 VSA section 1211, including for hosting events, as long as the new or existing structure is primarily used as a farm structure as defined in 24 VSA section 4413 D2A. This subsection shall apply to new or existing structures. Farming is exempt from Act 250 permitting. 10 VSA section 6081 lays out that no person shall commence development without a permit. The exemption for farming is nestled in the definition of the term development in 10 VSA section 6001, where it states that the word development does not include the construction of improvements for farming. Act 250 then has its own definition of farming, which, by the way, includes the on-site storage, preparation, and sale of agricultural products principally produced on the farm. The Act 250 statute is silent about multi-use structures, yet it may very well be argued that multi-use structures are already exempt from Act 250. Here's why. The language in 10 VSA 6081 outlines the specific permitting requirements, and subsection S1 reiterates from the definition section that no permits are required for farming. Subsection T regarding accessory on-farm businesses was added last year with Act 181, and it's clarifying that no Act 250 permitting is required for structures that serve the purpose of storing, selling, or preparing of agricultural products, in redundancy of these activities being defined as farming and therefore already out of the purview of Act 250 permitting. The bill that led to this change, H128, did not pass the House and was not endorsed by Rule of Vermont or other farmer-led organizations to our knowledge. The language of H128 was included last minute without any consideration in the Senate and became Section 18 of Act 181 in 2024. Instead of doing anything for accessory on-farm businesses, Act 181 included the confusing last sentence that excluded, quote, the construction of improvements related to hosting events or farm stays from the exemption of accessory on-farm businesses from Act 250 permitting. However, and this is the crucial part, there is no blanket provision in 10 VSA section 6081 that then goes on to positively require any and all improvements related to farm events or farm stays to trigger Act 250. Ergo, such improvements would still need to meet the definition of the term development and at least affect a tract of land involving more than 10 acres within a zoning district or involve more than 1 acre of commercial purposes in a municipality that has not adopted permanent zoning. Those are provisions in 10 VSA section 6001(3)(a)(I) and (I). Structures for farm stays would need to encompass at least 10 or more units to trigger Act 250 permitting, and I have a reference for that as well. Again, the law's definition of the term development excludes farming, and it may be very well argued that any improvements that serve primarily farming purposes are exempt from Act 250 permitting, even if they're used also for other purposes. There's relevant legal principles that support this understanding. One, the principle of legal clarity emphasizes that laws need to be written in a way that is easily understood by those who are expected to comply with them. And two, that everything which is not forbidden is allowed. In this context, these principles demand that it's not enough for Act 181 to exclude improvements for farm stays and farm events from the exemption to Act 250, without also positively naming that they would trigger Act 250 permitting and under which specific requirements. Furthermore, the language in the draft at hand supports this reading of the law. Beginning on line 19 on page 28 of draft number 1.1 of H481, it includes the following language, quote, the district commission may deny the special event permit if it determines that the event number 3 will require the construction of improvements for the event, and here's the emphasis, that would otherwise meet the definition of development under this chapter. This language underscores that constructions of improvements regarding events or farm stays only require Act 250 permitting if that would, quote unquote, otherwise meet the definition of development in 10 VSA section 6001. I recommend fact-checking this interpretation of the law with your legislative counsel. I find the legal principles referenced as prohibitive of a differentiating interpretation because as long as a structure is primarily used for agricultural purposes, the exemption for farming that is clearly stated in law would need to be upheld, especially in absence of any specific language that would result in another conclusion. In addition, the provision related to accessory on-farm businesses in Act 250 statute cross-references the definition of such businesses in Title 24 related to municipal zoning, where farm structures are explicitly exempt from being subjected to municipal bylaws in 24 VSA section 444-13D1A, where it states, quote, "A bylaw under this chapter shall not regulate A, required agricultural practices, including the construction of farm structures." Multi-use farm structures are neither explicitly mentioned in the relevant sections of Title 10 nor in Title 24. There would have to be a law that regulates the use of a farming structure that was once legally constructed as a farming structure, free from permitting, to prohibit the multi-use of any farming structure. Otherwise, it must be interpreted that multi-use is already allowed. What is not prohibited is allowed. There's probably thousands of farming structures in Vermont right now that serve some non-farming purpose, whether they're defined as an accessory on-farm business or not. Let's imagine, for example, that a small farm might use an old barn to park their residential cars in it while also storing feed in its hayloft. Improvements to that structure would not trigger Act 250. Similarly, should a farm erect a new pole barn and park their residential cars in there and maybe put a solar array on the roof of that pole barn while also storing hay in there, it would also be indifferent to Act 250. Let's face it, most developments actually don't trigger Act 250. For rural Vermont, the question really is why the Land Use Review Board seeks to expand their jurisdiction over farms, suggesting farms should be more strictly regulated than any other development. For rural Vermont, the trajectory that the LURB is embarking on with challenging the Feast and Field Collective seems out of touch with the legislative intention behind Act 143 of 2017, and more importantly, the ever-increasing devastating economic parameters persisting and evolving farms have to wrestle with to produce food and service of their land and their communities. H484 is a miscellaneous bill on agricultural subjects, and traditionally such bills are used for technical corrections and clarifications, not to establish new policies. What we're asking in support of our members is a clarification in 10 VSA section 6081T that farm structures that are primarily used for farming are exempt from Act 250 as the law is currently silent about multi-use farm structures. We ask for your support in finding that such clarification should be in line with the current law that exempts farm structures from Act 250 permitting requirements. We see the current draft of H484 Section 5 as the attempt of the Land Use Review Board to use this opportune moment to establish an entirely new policy that would regulate the use of legally constructed farming structures, which be detrimental to the farming community, as it would create major bureaucratic hoops for any farm business to host events and to market their products through such events. We don't see any benefit in such a proposal for the farming community and believe it would be contrary to the committee's ambition to provide regulatory relief to the Feast and Field Collective from their penalizing confrontations with the LURB. We trust that U.S. senators will use your decision-making power and vote to support the clarifying language we worked on with the attorney of the Feast and Field Collective. It would be an unfortunate signal for the agricultural community if the committee wouldn't be able to move clarifying language in the remaining time, as this would perpetuate the power imbalance and potential costs that farmers have in facing the LURB and their administrative acts. But dropping Section 4 and 5 altogether would be preferred in contrast to establishing a new policy that creates new challenges without achieving the desired relief for multi-use structures. I want to extend my gratitude for the chair for making the time and hearing us out on this, and to all senators on the committee for contributing to this issue constructively with their considerations on how to best move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Caroline.
Thank you for the deep legal analysis. I loved it. just so you know.
So,
Okay.
for our non-lawyers, Basically you're saying to get rid of, I'm sorry, Linda, can you keep that up there for us?
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Sorry, you have to put.
No, no worries.
I can put it back up. And I will do it like this.
So in essence, you're saying drop 4 and 5, and then include this language.
So section 4 already has similar language like this in as section 4 already amends 10 VSA 1681 T. But instead of this sentence, the sentence that's in there now goes beyond this sentence, as it would state that no permit or permit amendment is required for the construction of improvements for any farm events in general, not just when they're primarily used for farming purpose. So this half sentence, they're primarily used as a farm structure. That's what we understand being multi-use.
Well, ironically, in 3 minutes, obviously like her because she is probably the most in-depth in Act 50 to assess this. I mean, I think Senator Engel was eloquent in telling you and telling everyone that what we're just trying to do is solve an issue. So if more than anything, that's what we want to do.
I think it's just common sense.
Yeah.
You know, we can't get so stuck in the, get so stuck in the policy of words that we just bypass what common sense is.
Yeah.
And then we can't recognize when something gets swept up into something. And what harm is it gonna do? What harm? I mean, where my fight on this is what harm is it going to do to the environment by 2 months out of the year, being able to do with what they're doing? I would argue this. If they were to buy a tent and to do the same thing and put the tent up and then take it down, they're doing the same thing. So that's what we're trying to get to. We're trying to get to common sense, a lot like what this committee has done in the past, where we were probably thought of being confrontational with other committees or other parts of government, where all we were trying to do was get to common sense. And that's really what we're trying to do here.
Linda, is Ellen coming in person or on Zoom?
She's coming in person.
Okay, all right.
When we have Carolyn, we have some more people on the screen. Were they here for support?
Yeah, I think Joseph wanted to add to this, and just one final sentence from me. You know, rule of Vermont, we see other issues that I hinted on with the language that passed last year, and as I stated, we're committed to this work in favor of accessory on-farm businesses and farm viability. And that even if we were to clarify this language just regarding to multi-use, we want to come back looking at farm events, farm stays, improvements for such more comprehensively and work with the LURB and other stakeholders on that over the summer anyhow. So that's just my final spiel. But I know.
Can you send that language to us?
Yes, I did send it to you.
Okay.
Okay.
It's on your webpage.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you,
Hello,
guys.
hello. It's Joseph Morell. And so I just wanted to chime in, Senator Inglis and Senator Major. We appreciate your time and dedication in the last couple of months to address this issue that our collective is experiencing with the NRB, and by extension, the peril that other farms now face with the wording of 181 as written in 2024. We recognize that this short time frame has prevented a full hearing and understanding of solutions. We had hoped that a simple clarification of multi-use structures could have solved a discrepancy in the law, I have enclosed the letters from the Barnard Zoning Administrator and Select Board for the public record to show that our town recognizes our structure as agricultural and further asserts that it, quote, should not trigger the requirements of Act 250, end quote. In light of the proposed language to the miscellaneous ag bill as of April 24th, 2025, we see no redress for our situation or for other farms similar to ours. And we agree with Caroline Sherman of rural Vermont that we respectfully request that sections 4 and 5 be dropped in their entirety from the miscellaneous ag bill. We see the proposed shift in wording as a policy shift that would benefit from more stakeholder input. Our collective is committed to working with you, Senators Major and Senator Ingalls, rural Vermont, the ANRC, and the LURB over the coming year. Blessings and thank you.
Thank you, Joseph.
Is Chris on?
I think he's there too, yeah.
Did he want to say anything?
I just want to express my gratitude for all of you all giving us the time and trying to help find a solution on this. And and Caroline is testimony as well. I understand there's a lot of complex, like multi-component things, and I just want to appreciate to be able to air this in your committee. So thank you. Lastly, I see as this 4 and 5 in sort of a similar way as like the right to farm bill, the nuisance bill, in the sense that I think that is an important component where the different actors right now, we can't have a gatekeeper that could add a layer of like in function in the same way as other actors may function in that what that bill is trying to help find solution for. So I think it's a very complicated situation and topic here, but I think there's definitely a solution, and I think the language is actually a really common sense precision lift for this year. But moving forward, I think one of the underpinning concepts that this entire state was founded on, and every policy here too, is the concept of if more than 51% of the food is grown on the farm, that it automatically should always trigger an exemption no matter what law is created. And I think that has stood the test of time and should continue here on out. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Councilor Tchaikovsky. I said that right, correct? I got it right. I almost feel like without seeing the director's testimony and or her output, that we're blindsiding you a little bit, and I really don't want to do that. And to get your full input on what and to really give the legislative director and her charges a full going over from what the legislative council is, so I'm almost wanting to stop this, have you look at what they're proposing, and then come back and go from there, because I don't think it's fair to you or to you to go, okay, look at it for 3 minutes and then let's come back. I think Senator Ingalls said it appropriately. We want to solve the situation. I know you've been incredible in doing that. Just Reader's Digest version of that have a very shortened paragraph that they want to include to attach, take away section 4 and 5 and go from there. I'll like to listen to my colleagues. I do not have an issue with it. the key with that, I'm not a lawyer. And so I would feel a lot more comfortable if you were to take it, if you're once, twice, 3 times over, and then come back and tell me what you think.
So I'll have Counselor come up and go through the language that we have in the bill. What would you like to do, Senator Major? Or do you want to just show her the language that we have? What are you proposing?
It is, I mean, and I hate to do this. Can we have, and I don't know what your timing is tomorrow. Can we have her come right after activities and then, to give her time to, or would you want to do it now? And I don't know.
Well, let's let her show what some language
Okay.
is and what we have, and
Yep.
then let the counselor make the decision.
Okay.
As far as where it is. Come on up. Bill.
Ellen Tchaikovsky. You did a great job.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Office of Legislative Counsel. It's because you got to see the pictogram on my door.
Yeah, I actually
Yeah.
talked about it. I talked about it yesterday. So and I, as many of you know, I'm from Buffalo, which is a very high Polish population. So I'm used to it.
I appreciate that. So I haven't been in here, so I did want to make sure you all knew how to pronounce my name. But I appreciate what you just said, Senator Major, because I do have to go to another committee at 10, and so my time here is limited, and so I wish I was able to hear the first part of the testimony. But I will definitely review it later.
Why don't we
make
just
sure-
put it up on it just so you can get an idea of it, and then if you have any questions, why everybody's in the room. So Linda, can you put that up on the screen for us, please?
And more importantly, I guess basically just the paragraph that they want to include and then take out 4 and 5.
There's a paragraph right there. Man, pull that up. Can you pull that up a little bit? My poor eyes.
I'm not sure I can.
There's the plus in the middle of the screen, Linda, right?
Okay. There we go.
Now we're cooking with Crisco.
Okay.
So I do have a question. So under the definition of accessory on firm business, there is what qualifies as hosting events. Is the proposal that these events are following that definition as well? So the recreational, social, educational events?
That was the idea that we would just,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would like some more time to think about
Okay.
it, but that was only my only immediate question.
Yeah.
But I will think about it some more. Did you have, I mean, I didn't know.
I mean,
Yeah.
just one sentence about it, because for us, the most important part of it is that we believe that Act 250 is silent about multi-use of farm structures that are exempt from Act 250.
Mhm.
That a sentence like this, where it says primarily used as a farm structure, would be that phrase that defines multi-use.
Mhm.
And leaning into then again, the definition of farm structure that is in statute and under municipal zoning laws. Also the definition of accessory on farm businesses is cross-referenced amongst those titles.
Mhm.
That would make it the easiest way in our view.
All right, Counselor, are you good?
Yes, although I have missed the intro of the general objective of the committee or the constituents' request. I think I heard a couple different versions from Senator Major, and so I was planning to review the testimony, but I do just want to make sure that your intent matches this language.
Yes, I think that if this barn wasn't there and they just had a place to put a tent up, and they put that tent up 2 months out of the year and had this same event, there'd be no issue. Now they have a structure there that's a pole barn. That's primarily agriculture. The town recognizes it as agriculture. The community on the farm is using it as agriculture, but in a diversity, trying to diversify business, and create community, they've decided to invite the public in, share their food and product that they grow, have an event, raise a little bit of money, again, build culture, build community. And there's no issues of it other than one government entity who doesn't recognize it as primarily an ag structure. So we're trying to bring some simple reasonableness into the conversation and just say, sorry, but it is an ag structure. Just at some point in time, they use it for other things, but not year round. A blip in time. Yes.
So this LURB was created last year. I'm wondering whether this is the first time that they've issued some sort of decision or recommendation or directive. It appears, at least to me, that they've expanded what was the intent of their authority.
So I
I'm not, I don't want to put you on the
what
spot.
was their decision? I have not heard. What
Well-
formed the decision? What was there? I have not, I don't know what the
Okay.
situation is.
What is the, yes, that's a great question.
There was an administrative act. So the Peace and Field Collective has been approached administratively to undergo Act 250 permitting for that structure that had been created.
Was it an enforcement action?
And I think that would be the question for Joseph and Christopher. It seems like there's.
Okay, so this is Joseph Morel. We received on November 5th a letter from the District 3 Code Enforcement Officer, Christopher Kinnick, that our pole barn was in violation, that we had commenced development without a permit, and that we needed to seek immediate permitting to recognize the said structure.
Okay, so it is an enforcement action.
Okay. So that wasn't from the LUR, that was from the district. So Act 250 has a distributed system. There are 9 district offices. Each one is for the different regions of the state. There has always been an oversight board. It was previously called the Natural Resources Board, and now there's new membership and it's called the LUR. But the enforcement does is authority that they've always had. So I don't necessarily know that they've specifically done something that is outside of their lane. It's just the board's name has changed and some of their duties have changed, but this seems like it's within what they were previously allowed to do.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess we're kind of at your when you did digest this.
Are you available tomorrow?
Yes. Yep. Yeah.
Maybe like at 9:45.
Yeah, I'm booked till 10, I think.
Okay.
But, yeah,
That will work.
okay.
Okay.
9:40.
10, what's she booked till
Yeah.
10?
Yeah.
So it's like 10:05, 10:15, whatever, how long,
Yeah.
10, we'll say 10 o'clock and
Yeah,
then
that's
you
fine.
come.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you very much. And
Thank you.
for all your work on this. It was greatly appreciated. I know that, it's, threading it. But that's kind of what you do always.
Right, I mean, and so the only thing I guess I would add is I don't know how much other testimony you've had on this. This issue has come up in the past, perhaps not specific to individual farms, but the conversation around hosting events was specifically carved out last year when the amendment was made. And so there has been testimony in the past against this kind of amendment. So but obviously it's the committee's pleasure if they'd like to move forward with it.
Who's my favorite word or thought process? Who's swinging at this? I mean, who is this bothering the most?
So I think it has changed over the years. There are different industries, like the wedding venue industry, and there are other organizations that host festivals or concert series that are not specifically farmers themselves, who have gone through the permitting process, who have wondered if there's a fairness issue because they've had to go through the permitting process, but because they themselves are not a farmer, it creates a discrepancy. Obviously, it is within your purview as the agriculture committee, and has always been interest in protecting the farmers and their income. So there has been a balance, but this conversation has come up. And in prior years, there have been more focus on the use of barns for weddings. That can be a hot topic among different stakeholders. So it has come up. This is a different format. I haven't heard this particular story. I'm just flagging for the committee.
No, it's helpful.
Yeah.
Sure.
Did you have some?
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate to legislative council that, rural Vermont is aware of the larger discourse around how farm events and farm stays also should be regulated and incentivized as accessory on farm businesses, and how to make that distinction. What is really a farm? What is a scam farm? What's greenwashing under the umbrella of farming? And we don't think that the kind of last minute fixes with Act 181 that were not considered by this committee were a satisfactory solution. And then I said in testimony earlier, we're really excited to work on that more, also with BNRC who's in the room over the summer and the LRP. But again, this particular issue we're seeking to address is not that greater issue, but just the multi-use that should, under the preview of Act 250, which is about the creation of improvement and development, not about regulating activity per se, should be possible to be clarified, as the law is just silent on that.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll see you tomorrow, 10.
Yeah.
Anything else on that? Okay. Linda, I think we'll call it a day.
Thank you, Joseph. Thank you,
Thank-
Chris.
Thank you.